All right, so here I am sitting in front of the JP5. So I figured I'd do a follow-up video on how I tune my rifle. I have the spring kit here sitting in front of me, and I'm gonna go through kind of the order of how I figured out what I liked. And I allowed the paper that's out here in front of me at 15 yards to decide what I like the most, because two things are gonna happen when you sight or work on your rifle. You're gonna have a recoil feeling, and you're gonna have what the dot does. So there's a couple of different things that you kind of have to go through when you're trying to figure out what exactly you wanna do and how you want your rifle to feel. So for me, I prefer a much softer shooting rifle. I like that the gun doesn't recoil a lot. And the other thing that's very, very important to me, as long as I do my job, that the dot goes up and down as much as possible and not left to right. It allows it to be a lot more predictable for me. It's one of the things that I've worked on a lot during pistol shooting. So I try to carry everything I do over in the pistol to the rifle and vice versa. Everything that's in the rifle goes to the pistol. So let's attack exactly what I'm gonna do here today. So I've got the buffer already taken apart just to kind of save some time, but I figured I would show you exactly what I'm dealing with in the springs. So today I have a white, a black, a green, a yellow, and a plain spring with no color on it. Let's go through what these each are for weights. So the white is an 80-pound spring. The black is an 85-pound spring. The green is a 90-pound spring. The yellow is a 95-pound spring, and the black is a 100-pound spring. Now, what that does is gives me different recoil feel. It also is going to push the buffer back faster and harder. So again, what I'm looking for is a softer feeling, but I'm also looking for reliability. One of the biggest things about shooting this rifle is that I have to make sure I get a good ejection. So one of the things that I've had an issue with so far is testing ammo, trying to change different things, has affected some of my shooting because I've been having malfunctions. Well, there's a couple of different things that I've discovered, and hopefully in this video we'll be able to talk about it. Now, let's get at it. Right now I'm shooting my own homemade ammo. I have a 125 grain, which they're a little bit heavier than a 125 grain bullet. They just tend to weigh a little bit more. Super consistent brass monkey bullets is what I'm using, but I am shooting these at 140 power factor. The reason I'm shooting them a little bit hotter is because it matches an ammo I'm using for the World Shoot. Shooting a 70 locker in the bolt for this. The other thing that I've done for this specific load is I've also added a tungsten weight to the buffer. Now, I am going to mess around a little bit with the weights on the buffer just to kind of see what I can and cannot get away with, but I added a tungsten to the stock JP. So I have one steel, one tungsten, just for the way I have my setup. Now, the reason I did that is because of the ammo. All right, let's get after it. Let's try a couple of different springs and see how they shoot. Right now I'm at 15 yards. I have a black paster on the target, so we'll see exactly where and how this group looks while I'm shooting. All right, basically it's very simple. You just take this screw apart. The way to take the buffer apart is you take this top screw off, you put it, drive an Allen key into the side of it. It's got a little hole for it. JP is amazing about that. They know exactly what you need to do to work on their guns. So again, that screw just goes on top with the weight. So I am gonna start off with the lightest weight, which is gonna be an 80, which is the white spring. All right, let's see how that works. First, doing this on a barrel isn't the best, but that's what we got out here on the range. So I'm just gonna hand tighten it for now just to make sure it works for the first couple of shots. Again, just testing, not trying to lock everything down yet. All right, here we go, 140 power factor. What I always do is I always try to shoot 10 to 12 shots, and I'm trying to shoot pairs at a pretty good pace to kind of see what the recoil looks like on the paper. I don't even know if this is going to work. This might be too soft of a gun or of a recoil spring for this to work. So we'll find out right now. Here we go. She's bouncing all over the place. First couple shots were good, and then it just starts getting out of control. No matter how I mount the gun, it just starts going all over the place. So the other thing that you're looking for that's very, very important is you're looking for the ejection pattern on each and every spring. So as you start to change and mess around with springs and weights and so on and so forth, you have to make sure that the ejection pattern is 2 to 3 yards. You can get away with 2, but again, you're still starting to ride that edge. But once you get into the 1 foot drop mark, you're gonna have some issues. Don't ask me how I know. So let's watch this ejection pattern and see exactly what this spring does. So you can see as I start to kind of shoot a little bit faster, you're getting that 2 yard versus a 3 yard drop. So that's actually a good recoil for that specific load. It just depends on how the gun feels to me is where I'm gonna start making those adjustments. So again, the gun works, everything works fine. It's just what do I do to make the gun even better now? Now I'm starting to try to find that 1% improvement in the rifle. All right, I'm gonna go to the next spring and go up. So I am gonna go to the extreme now, just to kind of make this a little bit faster for you guys. I'm gonna go to the 100-pound spring and see how it feels. I'm pretty sure I know where I've settled on this, and it's not the 100-pound spring, and it's not the 80. So we're gonna switch to this now and give this guy a run. So the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna kind of check the ejection pattern, right? So obviously, man, that was a lot harder to rack. So that kind of shows you how much more pressure that's in there. Let's check the ejection pattern before we go into the next one here. So you can see I'm starting to get that 1 foot mark. Now, let's look at exactly what it looks like on paper with 10 rounds that I'm gonna reload. 10 rounds, black paster. I think that's 10 rounds. I stopped counting. The recoil on this is very, very nice. It's still a little up and to the right a little bit for me, but right now the recoil is on fire when it comes to just putting me right back in the A zone. The issue is I'm getting in that 1 foot mark. This is where you start to figure out where you're starting to have issues and you're gonna start running into unreliability with the rifle. It's funny how the rifle works the way they send it to you until you mess with it. And then it doesn't work sometimes because, oh, that's right, you messed with it. So now I am gonna change out that spring to, I'm actually gonna go to the 90-pound spring. The 90-pound spring, I think, is the spring that I wanna use for this specific round. I'm using a 90 to a 95 with the World Shoot ammo. But I've been practicing a lot and ran out of that ammo, so I can't just shoot that ammo. It's on its way. So let's see, the 95 was the yellow, so I'm going to the green spring. So that is a black, that is the uncolored, this is the 95 yellow, and I believe this is the green. Yes, it is. So here is my green spring. As you can tell, I've been running these a lot, so the more you use all of them and try different things is the more the color starts to wear off on them. All right, let's see. The best part is once you know what you want and what you like, you can kind of just keep buying that recoil spring if you need it for your buffer. So, okay, here we go. Let's see what the ejection pattern looks like on this guy. Much easier to rack, ejection pattern. Starting to get to the point where I am definitely not where I want to be with recoil. That thing is not giving me the ejection pattern that I'm looking for. So let's see what we got. Woo, the ejection on that is a little shaky, but man, the groups are right where I want them. I'm gonna go down one more. I believe where I want to be is between the 80 and the 90. So I need to be at an 85, it looks like, is where I want to be. So I'm probably going to end up with the black spring just for reliability for this ammo. But we got to find out. You got to test it. You can't just hope and assume. You got to test it, see how it feels, see how that recoil is, and go from there. All right, going to try one more for this setup. We're going to go to the 85. Remember, 70 locker. So we're gonna go to the black recoil spring, which is the 85. So black recoil spring, which is right there, 85. A little dirt on there, don't wanna put that in the gun. All right, I think this is gonna be the magic number for this. But actually what I'm gonna do now is, when I'm all done with this, just to show you guys exactly how much you can really tune these guns and how tunable they are, again, all through just a spring kit, I am going to change the buffer weight back to stock so I can show you kind of what it does. All right, ejection pattern, here we go. Let's see what we get with 10 shots. Starting to use up a lot of ammo. I love this sport. Here we go, 10 shots into the black paster with the 85-pound recoil spring. So it is jumping around a lot for sure. The pattern is pushing me to the right a lot. So time to change the buffer and see what I can do. So right now, where I really want the gun to be, I'm not getting it with reliability. So I'm gonna have to make some changes to the buffer now and redo that spring with the steel and see what I can get to make it work. Here we go, back to the stock buffer. We're gonna see what we get now when we start messing with the spring. Stock buffer, back to the boat, to steel instead of a tungsten. Let's see what we got. So I'm gonna do exactly the same thing. I'm gonna go to the lowest to the highest and then work my way back down. So the very first thing that I need to use is the white one. So we're gonna go back to the white, which is the 80-pound. All right, here we go. 80-pound stock buffer, 10 rounds. Let's get it. Not too bad. Actually, hold on. Almost forgot. Let's look at that ejection pattern. Very good. That is a very good ejection. I mean, that would get me through any match. That wasn't bad. That really wasn't bad. So it's all dead center where I want it. Still a little bouncy for me. So I'm gonna mess with it a little bit more. I'm gonna go all the way up to the 100 and see what it looks like. 100-pound recoil spring. It'll be interesting to see how much this thing bounces around on me. I want you guys to think about this and remember, a lot of this has to do with your ammo. This is not just the rifle. The rifle will shoot anything, but what you're looking for is the feel and the reliability at the same time when you start messing with the rifle. All right, so we're gonna do the ejection pattern first. Don't wanna forget that this time. Getting great ejection there. Let's get 10 rounds onto paper and see what it looks like. Ooh, I don't know if that's 10 rounds, but that thing is everywhere. It is not sitting nice and calm like I want it to be. That is for sure. Now, that being said, the gun is amazing and giving me alpha still, but I want that thing to be much calmer, much softer, and I know that this gun has way more performance left in it that I am not gonna shoot that spring out of the gun. So let's see what we got. I'm gonna jump right into the 90, kind of in the middle, and see where we're at. We did an 80, 100, and then I'm gonna do a 95, and then I'm gonna go to a 90. So the 90 is the green spring. Let's find our green spring. That spring right there is the yellow, I believe. This is the green spring right here. Good. All right, like I said, I've been switching back and forth a lot, starting to wear these things out. I'm gonna have to paint them myself, I think, so I can remember what we have. All right. Super easy to spin this thing and change parts, especially when you don't lock everything down just to get some tests in. It certainly makes it easy. Once you loosen it, you kind of hand tighten it, get some rounds out of it, just to kind of see where it's at. All right, so 10 rounds on paper, but I am going to check the ejection first. Remember, the most important thing, guys, about shooting, no matter how the gun shoots, if it's not reliable, it's not even worth having. So if you've noticed, I've checked the ejection pattern on every single one of these to make sure that they work. All right, that's a very good ejection pattern. At a 90 spring, let's see what we get now. This gun is bouncing everywhere for sure. So I am going to check. We're gonna go down, I think. We're gonna try to go to the 85 and see how it works, because the 80 shot great. It was a little bouncy, so I'm thinking that we're right in the middle here at an 85. Right now, I just finished installing the black spring, which is an 85. Let's try it out, see how it goes. One of the big things that was going on the last recoil spring is that the ejection was great. The problem was I was getting the recoil was pushing to the right a lot. That is 100% coming from how the bolt hits and wants to move the gun to the right. So let's check the ejection pattern with an 85. Getting really good ejection there. Now, just got to check the pattern on paper. Here we go. I think we found a winner, boys and girls. I think we found a winner. So let's see exactly what that group looks like. Hey, that was it. That's the patterning that I'm looking for. That's the grouping I'm looking for. I got the reliability out of the rifle with this ammo now, and I'm shooting an 85-pound recoil spring stock buffer. All I did was change that spring on the buffer, and now I have a consistent, smooth shooting rifle that I have repeatability in and reliability, which is, again, start with reliability and then go off everything else after that. If you guys got any questions, hit me up in those comments, and I'll see you on the range.